Braw, braw lads, on Gala water, bonny lads, on Gala water. Let them all say what they will, the Crier is aye wi' Gala water.
Good morning everybody. I sincerely hope you've all enjoyed the virtual events this week. Today should have been the 2021 Braw Lads Day, but we all know the reason why that's not happening. However, we are now going to present our virtual Braw Lads Day, which I hope will give you all a pick-me-up on what all us Galileans is the best day of the year. To get us started is past President John Gray to give a brief description of the borough flag, and then we'll be on our way.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. This is to proclaim to all the burgesses and neighbours of Gala Hill, as well as all strangers and sojourners within the borough. Whereas by the charter granted in the 33rd year of the reign of King James VI of Scotland, by Sir James Pringle of Gala, to the borough of Barony of Gala Hill, the right was given to hold a fair each year at midsummer. And whereas successive provosts, magistrates and councillors of the said borough had in former time decreed that the fair should be held as a public holiday within the borough, the President, Chairman and members of the Executive Council of the Braw Lads Gathering, in conformity with the traditions of the past, have chosen this, the 2nd day of July 2011, as the date thereof, and hereby call on all loyal burgesses and neighbours of the good town to protect and maintain the liberties and the peace of the fair. And whereas the Executive Council of the Braw Lads Gathering duly assembled have appointed Colin Playfair to be the Braw Lad and representative of the borough for the day. Now therefore, the President, Chairman and members of the Braw Lads Executive Council call upon all those who have been appointed as his attendants and invite all burgesses, neighbours and others here present to support him this day in riding the old roads, watching the ford of the Tweed and commemorating the ancient traditions of the borough.
As President of the Braw Lads Gathering, I herewith give to you custody the borough standard, enjoining you to carry it with honour to the town and its ancient traditions, and trust that you will hold it in your safekeeping and that you will worthily carry it this day. In accepting the custody of this standard from you as President of the Braw Lads Gathering, I hereby declare that I shall do what in my lies to carry worthily and return it safely, and to uphold the traditions of the borough. And I call upon the Braw Lads and lasses appointed as my supporters to help me in guarding this standard while in my charge.
After the town crier gives the proclamation, the Braw Lad is presented with the borough flag, which within its pictorial elegance defines the history of this ancient borough of Gala Hill. The basis of the flag is the white St Andrew's cross in the blue background, and in its centre there is a wreath of red and white roses together with Scotland's national emblem, the thistle. This wreath surrounds the date of 1503 and commemorates the marriage of James IV of Scotland to Margaret Tudor, who was descended from both the House of York, whose emblem was the white rose, and the House of Lancaster, whose emblem was the red rose. The marriage, known as the marriage of the thistle and the rose, is significant as it led to the union of the Scottish-English crowns 100 years later. The land of Ettrick Forest on which the town is located formed part of the dowry and is commemorated in the traditional ceremony of the sod and the stone. The St Andrew's cross divides the flag into 4 triangles, and in each section is a symbol relating to the historic background of the town. The triangle nearest the staff, this section shows the red line rampant on the golden background, which is the royal coat of arms of Scotland, which acknowledged the men of Gala were loyal to the crown. In the opposite quarter is the Douglas coat of arms, which records that in 1321, Robert the Bruce gave this area of Ettrick Forest, on which Gala Shields is located, to Lord James Douglas to repay the loyalty shown by the men of Gala Shields. In the bottom section is the Pringle family coat of arms and the date 1599, which records the year the town was granted as a borough of barony, which allowed the town to have a market and festivals. In the top section of the flag is the coat of arms of the town and the motto of Sour Plumes, and 1337, the first mention in history when the lads of Gala overcame the band of English invaders in a grove of wild plume trees at Englishman's Syke.
This ceremony is to commemorate the event in Gala Shields history, where its earliest notice appears in Lord Hale's Annals, where it is recorded that in 1337, during the reign of David II, a party of English invaders halted at Gala Shields in course of retreat from a vain effort to raise the siege of Edinburgh. The season being autumn and the little army not thinking itself pressed to make a hurried passage across the Tweed, the soldiers started to straggle about the neighbourhood in search of wild plumes with which it then abounded. A party of Gala lads now came up, and learning of the position of the foe, rushed down upon them, and there hewed them down with the sword almost to a man, thus killing the party of Englishmen. And it is said that the Syke or stream ran red with blood for 3 days and nights. The location is now identified as the Englishman's Syke, nearly opposite Abbotsford. The people of the village, in self-gratulation of an exploit which had been a surer fruit to the invaders than any they went in search of, called themselves the Sour Plumes o' Gala Shields, and transferred the sobriquet to their successors, and are celebrated by it in a Scottish song of high antiquity, and even bequeathed it as the quaint and sarcastic motto of the armorial bearings of the borough. This description is taken from the Gazetteer of Scotland, 1842. The Redstone ceremony is proclaimed by the town crier, followed by the president, who proclaims that the Braw lads will be decorated with the symbol of the Sour Plumes, which is to acknowledge the acts of valour by the ancient men of Gala Shields in 1337. And because of those achievements, the Sour Plume became the badge and the emblem of the borough.
On the arrival of the principals, they make their way to the Redstone platform by slow marching to the tune My Lodgings, which is provided by the pipe band. At the Redstone platform itself, it is customary for the Braw lad to place the staff of the flag on the Redstone, and the President will then in turn give cuttings of the sour plume tree to the Braw lads, who on bended knee present their respective Braw lass with the sprig from the tree, with which they then bust their Braw lad. During this part of the ceremony, the pipe band plays the tune Sour Plumes in Gala Shields, a unique piece of music written especially for this event and which is very rarely played elsewhere.
Distinguished visitors and neighbours of this borough, I hereby proclaim that this ceremony is held this day at the Englishman's site to commemorate the valour of the men of Gala Hill, who in the year 1337 surprised and overcame a band of English invaders in a grove of wild plum trees near this spot, and thereby did their part in the age-long struggle for the independence of their native land.
As President of the Braw Lads Gathering, and in token of the ancient valour of the men of Gala, I decorate you, Braw lads and worthy representatives of the men of old, with the symbol of the sour plumes, which, through their achievements, became the badge and emblem of the borough.
After the ceremony, the principals and officials descend from the platform, again slow marching, this time to the tune Braw, Braw, Lads, provided by the brass band. It is interesting to note at this junction that during the earlier gatherings, all fanfares played by the trumpeter were always preceded by a drum roll. This practice is not carried out today, with the exception of the fanfare at the Redstone itself. The aforementioned platform where the actual ceremony takes place was purpose-built for the first gathering, with the centrepiece being a huge stone or stain which came from the River Gala. In 1937, to mark the 600th anniversary of the battle, a plaque was attached to the front of the platform bearing the symbol of sour plumes and the date 1337. It was also at this time that Provost Mercer donated a flag and flagpole which is erected each year just to the right-hand side of the platform. The original flag has been fairly recently replaced, but like the original, bears the town coat of arms on a blue background.
After the Redstone ceremony, one very picturesque event of the gathering morning is the Braw Lad and Braw Lass leading the cavalcade of riders over the Tweed at the Abbotsford, on their way to visit Abbotsford House, the historic home of Sir Walter Scott. The visit itself has taken place since the first gathering in 1930, when a highly appreciated invitation was received from General Maxwell Scott of Abbotsford for the official representatives of the town of Gala Hill to visit Abbotsford House on the morning of the gathering. This visit was an opportunity to acknowledge the intimate relations that existed between Sir Walter Scott and the borough of Gala Hill. It is customary for the Braw lad to convey the good wishes on behalf of the people of Gala Hill in the following manner. I have the honour to convey to you the greetings of the borough of Gala Hill in commemoration of the close associations and the kindly feelings that existed between them and your illustrious ancestor, Sir Walter Scott. All the visiting party are then presented with a red or white rose from representatives of the family, and after the signing of the visitor's book, the principals remount, with the Braw lass mounting her horse using the Laupinstein, which is a sculpture of Sir Walter Scott's dog Maida, and the party then leave Abbotsford to rejoin the main cavalcade.
So Sandy, after the visit to Abbotsford House, the horses then, the principals then leave Abbotsford and reford the Tweed at Faldonside before going along Bullside Road into the Cobsfield and then on to Gala Hill. Possibly a lot of people's favourite part to the day. There's usually a lot of crowds when we arrive there.
Yeah, very much so. I think obviously in two parts of Gala Hill the crowds seem to gather. The first couple of fields that we do go into, the crowds tend to be on either side, which sometimes does create a bit of an issue for the horses picking the route up the fields, but great to see the people as you come onto the hill from the bottom.
Absolutely, and the first opportunity really for the Braw lad to unfurl the flag and have it blowing in the wind in his hand there. A few years ago the principals started cutting it up onto the hill where the crowd stand along the rope at the top of the hill now, and it really has become quite a spectacular and a draw of crowds there. How do you think folks feel when they get to see this spectacular on top of the hill?
I think it's a great opportunity for both the principals and the public to see the principals that close up in canter or gallop up past them with the flag kind of going behind the Braw lads. It's a great spectacle, and hopefully everyone does enjoy that part as they see them close up.
Absolutely, and I think it really then lets the principals settle down a bit before they have the important duty that they've got next, which is the Old Town Cross. So the principals then leave Gala Hill and go on along the Drove Road down to Bar Road before they start their next ceremony.
Yeah, and that gives opportunity for the rest of the cavalcade also to go up past the public and the members of the town that are out watching to see all the hundreds of horses galloping up over Gala Hill, which again is a great spectacle to see.
Yeah, there's a lot of work goes into all the mounted events and all the riding events, but I think that really this is one of the big spots on Gala Hill that gives the crowd the opportunity to see everybody and to give everyone a good cheer, because I'm sure you'll agree that we couldn't do this without all our mounted marshals or foot marshals or landowners, etc. But ultimately it's the crowd that we need on the day to support our principals around our ridden events.
Yeah, the hard work that goes in to the lead up is definitely to make it on the day, make that experience and make that the spectacle that is, and the opportunity for everyone to enjoy our events.
So Sandy, obviously we're in touch a great deal during Braw Lads Day via radio, indeed are the rest of the Mounted Events Committee. So when I break off on Gala Hill and take the principals down the Drove Road towards Bar Road to get them ready for the Old Town Cross ceremony, maybe you could let people know what you do with the rest of the cavalcade at this point.
Yeah, it's my role as Chief Marshal, but my job to lead the rest of the cavalcade round off Gala Hill and up round Holly Bush, which again is good for all our riders that are on the ride out to get more fields and enjoy the ride out, but very much so, as Jodie said, we're in contact all the time because we do have to keep to a tight schedule of making up time and pushing on so that we're in the right places at the right time for the ceremonies, and so that we're off the fields and out through the policies for Scott Street.
Yeah, and I think people maybe aren't aware how much we're against the clock on that morning, because we really are against the clock when we set off at 8 o'clock right up until the flags dipped at the War Memorial. Time's against us. Yeah,
very much so, and I think it all relies on hopefully touch wood that there's no mishaps on the ride out and everything, that will then, as the rest of the cavalcade, will hold up the principals for their duties.
The Old Town area of Gala Shields is the location for one of the most historic ceremonies reenacted every year during the events of the gathering Saturday morning. The ceremony takes place at the town cross, which is decorated with flowers for the occasion. This area of Gala Shields, through its early history, was location for some of the town's important buildings, which included the Cloth Hall, the Leith Bank and the toll booth. The toll booth, together with the town cross, have no recorded dates of their erection, but historic journals suggest that their introduction would be in the early years after the town was erected to a borough of Barney in 1599. The toll booth had a number of uses, which ranged from a location for public worship prior to 1617, and at the other extreme, in later years, prior to its demolition, it was used for the slaughter of cattle. No records of its design have come to light over the years, but descriptions would confirm that it had a spire in which was erected a weather vane with the date 1695, which was a sure indication that the spire surmounted with the vane had been erected 50 years after the original building. On its demolition in 1880, the clock and the bell were removed to the square sandstone steeple of the new parish church, St Paul's, and jugs found their way to Abbotsford and stuck to a location in Edinburgh. A market cross in the 1600s was a symbol that the town was granted the right to hold a market. The Old Town Cross's original design had a circular stone base on which sat the cross that had a flight of steps leading to a projected balcony where the town crier and others would make proclamations. The cross was removed in the early 1800s but restored again in 1867 and 1887 with public funds, and although the cross had a weather vane on top of the sundial that carries the date 1695, it is recorded that this weather vane was transferred from the toll booth at its time of demolition. The cross also carries bronze plaques in relief designed by Baillie George Hoptay of James IV and Margaret Tudor, and on the base is sculptured emblems of both countries. In 1930, the year of the first gathering, the cross was the location for the ceremony to commemorate the marriage of James IV of Scotland to Margaret Tudor in 1503, which took place at or close to where the marriage originally took place. This marriage was later referred to as the marriage of the thistle and the rose, which led to the unification of the crowns 100 years later. The ceremony at the cross requires the Braw lass to mix the white roses of York and the red roses of Lancaster, which she has received from the two female attendants, bringing together the two houses under Margaret Tudor. The Braw lass then places the roses on the cross in a wreath of thistles. The Braw lass then accepts the sod and stone from her male attendants and places them on the cross, highlighting the Act of Sassin, which commemorates the handing over to Margaret Tudor an area of Ettrick Forest and the buildings thereon as her dowry. This ceremony from 1930 to 1961 was carried out by the 8 attendants, with the female attendants presenting the Braw lass with symbols of sod and stone and the red and white roses. Since 1961 and the reduction of the attendants to 6, the Braw lass's attendants presented the roses and the Braw lads presented the sod and stone. The principals then left the platform, and on the return of the Braw lad, he was joined by the Provost and Bailies and the Laird of Gala Hill, who presented the Provost with a parchment which contained the citation erecting Gala Hill into a borough of Barney. Since 1976, the official party meeting the Laird is now the President, Chairman, Vice Chairman, Clerk of the Gathering and Treasurer of the Executive Council.
On the soil of the Lordship of Ettrick Forest, near the tower and manor of Gala Hill, the commissioners and ambassadors of Henry VII, King of England, and the attorneys and procurators of the Lady Princess Margaret, eldest daughter of the aforesaid King Henry, then coming to the presence of Sir John Murray, Sheriff of Shelton, holding and having in their hand the precept of Stacey, sealed with the green seal of the Chancery of King James IV of Scotland, and from the said sheriff humbly desired and sought Stacey and possession of the Lordship of the Forest of Ettrick with the tower and manor of Europe. And the said Sheriff of Shelton, in virtue of his office, having read the said precept upon the soil of the Lordship of Ettrick, gave real and substantial station and possession of the same by the traditional ceremony of earth and stone, in the presence of honourable and noble men and gentlemen of England and Scotland, including Walter Scott of the Bloom, David Hunt Pringle of Gala Hill, William Hunt Pringle of Colin and many others. As this is to intimate to all present that as the red rose of Lancaster and the white rose of York were happily united in the person of Princess Margaret Tudor, so the thistle and the rose were happily united in the union of the crowns of Scotland and England in the year 1603, which resulted directly from the royal marriage 100 years before, of which the first official act on Scottish soil, the ceremony of sword and stone, took place near this spot at the tower and manor of Gala Hill. And I now proclaim that the ceremony following is in commemoration of the granting by Sir James Brindle of Gala Hill on the 17th day of December 1599 of the Charter whereby Gala Hill was erected into a borough of Laird and received among other privileges the right to hold share in summer. And that these privileges are confirmed and upheld this day by the President, Chairman and Office Bearers of the Braw Executive Council of the Borough of Gala Hill in the presence and with the goodwill of Julian Scott, Esquire of Gala, a representative and direct descendant of the said Sir James Playfair. God save the Queen.
Town Crier Alaistar Waddell plays a very important part in our official ceremonies, none more than at the town cross itself, and we asked him how he would describe his feelings and emotions after performing his duties.
I always feel immensely privileged as Town Crier to play a small part in commemorating the ancient traditions and history of the town. It's always a very emotional moment after the Roses ceremony, as it is the final duty of the Town Crier for that year. Another 12 months to go.
The visit to the Laird's house immediately after the ceremony at the Old Town Cross has been subject to change over the years. In 1930 and for many subsequent years, the principals would visit the Laird and his family in their residence at Gala House, which was situated in the grounds of the Gala policies, the same grounds that the main equestrian cavalcade would ride through during the morning of the Braw Lads' Day. However, when Gala House was sold in 1976, the Scott family moved and took up residency at Hollybush. For many years after this move, the principals would visit Hollybush, but in order to get there and back in time for the final parade through the town, they had to use motorised transport. However, in 2000, because of restoration work being carried out at Hollybush, the current Laird agreed to welcome the principals at Old Gala House, the original residence of the Lairds. This arrangement proved to be very successful and has been continued ever since. Now the principals, after the cross ceremony, are led down Scott Crescent by a lone piper, arriving at Old Gala House much earlier than they could arrive at Hollybush, thus allowing the visit to be far more relaxed. The actual proceedings at all the visits of the various houses, however, has never changed. This starts with the Braw lad being introduced to the Laird at the front door of the house by the president of the Braw Lads' gathering, or in former years by the provost. The Braw lad then makes the following remarks. Mr. Scott, I have to convey to you the greetings of the people of Gala Shields in token of the ancient and unbroken association for over 500 years between them and your ancestors, the Pringles and the Scots of Gala, and to thank you for the permission so readily accorded to ride through your beautiful grounds. After these remarks are made, everyone enters the house where refreshments are served. After remarks by the Laird himself, the President proposes a toast to the continuous good health of the Scott family. On leaving the house, an official photograph is taken at the front door before the principals return to their horses in preparation for the final procession through the town.
Having now ridden Braw Lads' Day on over 25 occasions, to carry the borough flag up Scott Street has to be one of the highlights of my time as Braw Lad. I have since had the privilege for the past 7 years Braw Lads gatherings to lead the cavalcade up Scott Street in my role as Chief Marshal. The feeling each year only gets better. Turning out of the gates of the Scott Park to see the streets lined by thousands of spectators, the atmosphere is electric, and in no time you're in Hall Street wishing you could repeat the whole experience over again. In fact, as the history goes, this was never meant to be a gallop, but during the first gathering in 1930, the Laird of Gala, Mr. Scott, provided refreshments for all the mounted followers, a very kind act indeed. Unfortunately, the head of the procession rode off prior to these all being served, resulting in big gaps in the procession. As they passed up Scott Street, so many of the riders found it necessary to gallop through to catch up, which has since become a tradition. Let's hope we will see you all again next year in 2022, back to normal, cheering the horses up Scott Street.
Hello, mate. You all right, mate? What, you want me to do that?
After Scott Street, the cavalcade eventually arrive in proximity to the War Memorial, where the cavalcade disperses, leaving the Braw lad as the lone mounted rider. Without question, one of the most moving and spectacular ceremonies in connection with the Braw lad's gathering is the act of homage at the War Memorial, which concludes the ceremonial part of the gathering morning. The Braw lad on horseback, with his Braw lass in attendance lined up behind him, facing the border reiver and War Memorial. After 2 verses of the traditional hymn, O God of Bethel, and during the playing of the Floors of the Forest, the flag is dipped, and as the pipers finish the lament, 2 minutes silence is observed to remember those men and women who gave their lives for the country in 2 world wars. The silence is broken when the clock chimes, Braw, Braw, lads. The ceremony closes with the Braw lad raising the borough flag, and it is again dipped during the playing of the national anthem, after which the flag is raised once more before the Braw lad and Braw lass in attendance return to the borough chambers, where the Braw lad returns the flag to the president of the Braw lads gathering on the balcony.
I accept from you the borough standard, which you have so worthily carried this day. I congratulate you, your Braw lads and attendants, on the efficient manner you have fulfilled your duties, and in the name of the people of Gala Shields, I thank you all.
The roses used at the Market Cross on the morning of the first Braw Lads' Day were gifted to the mother of the Braw lass. Whether or not this tradition continued or not in subsequent years cannot be ascertained, as there are no recordings of this taking place. However, in 1951 it was suggested by the then Provost Goodall that the Braw lass should lay the roses that she mixed in the morning on the War Memorial at 8 p.m, with the short and simple ceremony concluding with the Braw lads' chimes. This was carried out, and that year's Braw lass, namely Pat Richardson, was the first Braw lass to perform this act, which has been carried out ever since. Over the years, music has been provided to accompany the ceremony, with various brass and pipe bands performing this duty. Another addition to this very popular ceremony was introduced in 2000, when all ex-Braw lads and lasses were invited to assemble at the bottom of Bank Street, Bray, and march along Bank Street in order of their year of office, arriving in time to witness the laying of the roses. This practice is still carried out today, and over the years since its inception, the march has grown in numbers and is very much appreciated by the general public.
I will now ask President of the Braw Lads Gathering, Bill White, and Chairman of the Braw Lads Executive, Craig Whitehead, to sum up and close our virtual Braw Lads Gathering week for 2021.
Well everyone, that concludes our virtual Braw Lads week. This year, like last, has been very difficult, but we sincerely hope that what we have produced this week will have brought back many happy memories of past Braw Lads days, and we can all look forward with great optimism for the future. The only positive personal note from me is that I will be the longest serving president on record. I will now ask Chairman of the Braw Lads Executive Council, Craig Whitehead, to say a few final words.
On behalf of the Braw Lads Executive Council, we would like to thank everyone who has contributed in any way to our virtual Braw Lads week. A special thanks must go to Stuart Wilson for all his technical input. Without it, it would not have been possible to deliver this project. Thank you all for watching, and hopefully we will see you all in 2022 for a normal Braw Lads gathering.